Hello, today I'm going to talk about the game Cerberus, the Proxima Centauri campaign. It's a task force game, number 3, and it's one of their small, booklet games, and the map is folded up and the counters go within the booklet. The Terrans are advancing out their empire, and they meet the Tau Cetians that are the competing force against them, and it's actually about capturing the entire planet with their forces. That makes it kind of interesting. The art is pretty typical of task force games. It does a good job of conveying the theme. So you can see these forces deploying on the planet, kind of ready to go with their weapons, etc. Some detail. A little bit of theme on the back. The taking of a planet. Cerberus, the first planet of another star that man reached, had already been colonized by Tau Cetians and the Cetians, while no visitors. But man's destiny was in space, and he would not be denied. Cerberus is the first game to cover combat or the entire surface of a planet. It's kind of neat with these older games. They can talk about actually being the first of a game to do something, so it's kind of neat here. A new and unique system is used to depict the curved surface of the planet. The 108 multicolored playing pieces depict the bases, spaceports, mobile battalions, and special forces platoons that landed and fought on Cerberus. And these are the Tau Cetians. Cerberus, exciting 2-player game, maneuvers in action. Playing time 2-3 hours, complexity level moderate. As far as components, the rulebook, which it's 25 pages, and it's black and white, not too many illustrations. Of course, since it's a capsule game, it doesn't have dice, but I'm just going to use dice from another task force game. So there's 108 counters. There's standard 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. They're a little bit thinnish. They're all, one-sided. Have to zoom in quite a bit here because the printing on them is almost impossibly small in some cases, but generally up here you have the battalion or company and regiment, and that's mainly for flavor if you wanna kind of group your items by that. And then there's the attack factor, defense factor, and movement factor, and then just an indication here of what the unit is. If it's an H, it means it's heavy weapon. If it's T, it's a transport. And it does talk about the different regiments. The R's for the humans are the Royal Hussars, and X is Brigade X. Cetians, P is the provisional, G is guards, M is marine, S is storm, and A is assault. The Cetians don't have any unit designations, just the humans do. So the counters, Cetians are red or light red. Humans are blue or light blue. So you have the Cetian transport companies, 4 of those. E-fields, 2 of those. Paratroop battalions, 3 of those. 8 infantry battalions. 1 provisional battalion. 2 assault battalions. 11 mobile battalions. 1 storm battalion. 1 guards heavy weapons company. And 3 guards mobile battalions. Then we have special forces platoons, bases, spaceports, guards infantry battalions. For the humans then, we have 15 mobile battalions, 12 infantry battalions, 5 heavy weapons companies, 5 transport companies, 3 paratroop battalions, 6 bases, 2 spaceports, and 4 special forces. Then there's some other counters too, of course, a turn marker, a space state, star markers, which can move around and add a little more complexity to the game as well. Here's the map. It's 16 by 21. It's got a lot going on there. It is a bit it's kind of thickish paper that folds, but since the game has so many interesting elements, it would have been nice if the map had at least more than a couple colors there. I think that would have added a lot. It's the surface of Cerberus course. It's got some different holding boxes, got a turn record track. The fleet holding boxes here represent units which are actually aboard transports with a fleet. Each fleet holding box includes several smaller boxes each of which represents the ability to carry one unit. So these can each carry one unit. The human fleet can carry 6 units at a time. The session's 5. So there's 5 plus the special forces and 6 plus the special forces. Note that up to 4 special forces may be kept in the special forces box. Also note that on turn 1, the humans may have 2 units in each box. The other boxes represent planets. The system box represents other planets in the Proxima Centauri system, which is part of the larger Alpha Centauri system. Most of these units, in fact, are the planets Scylla and Charybdis, which are planets of the Alpha Centauri A. The boxes marked Earth and Tau Cetians represent the home planets of the players. There's no limit to the number of units which can be stacked in the system, Earth, or Tau Ceti boxes. And you can place your units upside down to hide what's there. 2 destroyed unit boxes are places to store units which have been eliminated in combat. Turn record track. And the space superiority track runs from +6 human control to +6 Cetian control. And then you have the display of the planet to allow for the curvature of the world, where you can go from, obviously you can go from this side to over on this side. Then as far as terrain indicators on the world, the all water has cost enters 1 movement point, no effect on combat. No unit may ever in its movement in all water hex. Clear terrain, cost enters 1 movement point, no effect in combat. Partial water hex, same as for the other terrain hex. Ice hex, effects are the same as clear terrain hex in every way. Then mountain hex, cost enter is 2 movement points. When the combat hex is mountain hex, the odds are shifted 1 column in favor of the defender to the left. Resource hex has no effect on movement or combat in any way. However, it does affect the supply status of units. Storm generation hex. Cerberus is a habitable planet, but the highest life forms are equivalent of deer and coyotes. There are no cities or man-made structures other than those of the 2 players. Credits: Game concept, Dr. Susan L. M. Huck. Game design, Stephen V. Cowell. Game development, David W. Crump. Rules editing, Alan D. Eldridge. And same with graphics, Alan D. Eldridge. Cover painting, A.G. Bellflower. Sequence of play, Cerberus is played in turns. A is space superiority determination phase, space superiority determination segment, major effort planning segment, major effort declaration segment, major effort resolution segment, space superiority resolution segment. Then B, the human player phase. Special forces segment, supply segment, ground unit movement segment, ground combat segment, transportation segment, Cetian player phase, special forces segment, supply segment, ground unit movement segment, ground combat segment, transportation segment. D, strategic transportation and reinforcement phase, reinforcement segment, human strategic movement segment, Cetian strategic movement segment. The base game lasts 12 turns, at which time the game will end and victory will be determined. And victory conditions. Assuming that neither player has won by means of minimum garrison, the game is decided on points, which are tabulated at the end of turn 12. Players receive points for enemy units destroyed, their own units from the planet, for occupation of continents and holding resource hexes. The points are as follows: for units destroyed, shown here; for continents held, shown here; for each resource hex occupied. The points are totaled and expressed in ratio of human to Cetian victory points. This ratio is then compared to the levels below. For to 1 or more, human decisive victory, and that ranges all the way up to less than 1 to 2 with a Cetian decisive victory. And the special forces versus spaceport table, the die roll and number of attacking special forces units. D would be disrupted. The number is the number of special forces destroyed. Special forces versus supplies table. Die roll result. It talks about the number of factors destroyed for each. Space superiority resolution chart. Die roll of 2 dice. and how you shift the space superiority towards the human or Cetian. Combat results table, die roll, and then the odds. Then we'll get into setup and play. Showing setup here is only one scenario. It's the human invasion that began the Cetian War. First of all, we set the space control marker to +6 for the Terrans. And the Cetians will, first of all, set up the spaceports and 4 bases. And I put them each on resources. Kind of distributed them across the continents here. And then distributing everything, somewhat equally across. There's 6 infantry, 342s. 6 mobile battalions, 336s. 1 transport company. And you have to deploy them on spaceports and based on resource X's, which I did anyway. And when you have resources, as far as the supply, they have to be within their movement point of the base or spaceport to get supplied. In the fleet, 2 432 infantry battalions, 1 426 mobile battalion, and 1 336 mobile battalion. Then the system, 1 446 mobile battalion, 2 452 infantry battalions, 2 016 transports, 1040 base, and 1010 E field. On Tau Cetians, 2 342 infantry battalion, 2 336 mobile battalions, 1040 base, 1010 E field. Human setup then, so normally they're allowed 6 units in the fleet and then their special forces, but on the first turn they can have 12. So in their fleet they have 2 paratroops, 4 infantry, 2 mobile battalions, 2 transports, and 2 heavy weapons, and then in addition to the special forces. Then all the rest of their units are placed here, and the total of all their units across the fleet and on Earth are the 15248 mobile battalions, 5 416 heavy weapons companies, 12 351 infantry battalions, 3 351 paratroop battalions, 5016 transport companies, 2010 spaceports, and they say 010, and it's actually 012 for the Earth and 010 for the spaceports for the Cetians. 6050 bases and 4 SF units. And then reinforcements. So the humans just get the special forces reinforcements. Cetians though at turn 1 at Cerberus spaceport, they get 142 infantry battalion. 2, they get 1 special forces unit of the fleet. 3, they get on Tau Cetians 2 336 mobile battalions. Turn 4, they get 1 special forces unit of the fleet. Turn 5, on Tau Cetians they get 3 342 paratroop battalions and 1 016 transport. Turn 6, they get 1 special forces unit of the fleet. Turn 7, on Tau Cetians they get 1 446 mobile battalion. Turn 8, on Tau Cetians they get 1 446 mobile battalion and 1 536 heavy weapons company. And the scenario length is 12 turns. So the first turn here, and I will be using the optional weather rules to make it interesting as well. Seems like already there's a lot going on, but the weather should add another factor to it. So normal sequence, the first phase is the space superiority, but in the scenario they say initially the Terrans start with a +6, and it's a little bit confusing if you do the randomization of that also, but they also talk about the Cetians being at a -6 when it's their turn, so I'm assuming we don't do any of the space superiority in the first turn. So then we'll go in the human player phase. So weather happens in the space superiority segment. So we roll a die. On a 1 through 3, a storm is created. So a storm is created. Then you roll a die and see which storm creation area it's 1. So a storm is created, and Arctic cold front is created up here. And then I'm going to say that it's the game is starting in the spring. And then I'll keep track of need to keep track of supply resources. And then I'll do that on this sheet here. And then also keep track of the storms here. So since the storm is in the spring, from this chart here, it's got an intensity of 2, indicated there. And then we go to the human player phase. First is special forces. They won't be doing any special forces yet. They're going to wait till they get down the planet. Supply segment, they don't have anything down yet. Ground unit movement, no movement yet, no ground combat. Then transportation segment. So from the space superiority track, the supply factor they have available is 60. And how many factors it takes to bring units down are shown here. Cost of land from the fleet is 2, from Earth is 5, then there's adjustments, -1 for paratrooper, -1 for transports. So first of all, they want to bring down bases. So they'll want, because the supply factors are going to turn to be pretty important. They're going to start with 3 bases from Earth, so that'll cost a total of 15, so because it's 5 each. And I'll put those on some resources. So I landed the units, and the bases, and then the units from the fleet. Heavy infantry and mobile transports, or mobile battalions, some transports, infantry, around the 3 bases. Again, you gotta keep them within their movement allowance so that they can be in supply. And I'll bring the paratroopers down from the fleet as well. So bringing everything down from the fleet cost 20 points, and then taking the 3 bases from Earth cost another 15. So then there's 25 left. And then I'll use that to bring down 4 infantry and 1 mobile battalion. So I put a couple more infantry here, a couple infantry here, and then a mobile battalion here. So as far as current supply points, Cetian has the 40 distributed evenly. So they have 8 in each of their bases, and then 8 in a spaceport. Then the humans have 8 in each of their bases. So supply is very important, and if they have a positive here in the superiority, they can get supplies dropped down from orbit, but since they don't, the Cetians can't do that. First of all, they're not going to do any special forces, so they go to supply. And they can create 2 on a resource hex, and they're each spaceport's on a resource hex. But then it costs 1 supply factor for each unit. So they can have more reserves saved up in a spaceport, so they're going to do that. They're basically going to not supply 3 of the units, so they won't be active this turn, so they can kind of conserve resources. So they are only supplying 2 units between the 2 here. So they're generating 2 each, so there's 4 generated. So this base is supporting these 2, and this spaceport is accumulating 2 then. So they can add 2 to their what they have, so they have a total of 10 now. And here they're disabling 1, they're not supplying 1, so they can just kind of maintain equilibrium here, and they're generating 2, and then they can supply 2. Similarly here, it's generating 2 and supplying 2. That one's not active, and this one's generating 2 and supplying 2. So. As far as Cetian movement, not a lot of movement going on initially, but he'll want to meet some forces up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I guess he'll keep him here. You move him a little bit closer in, and they'll stay where they are. So space transport segment, the first term's a little bit unique because there's a reinforcement that shows up at the spaceport of an infantry. And then they don't have space superiority, but in the first turn they can do a special technique where they come down and you roll. And it shows the number of units from a fleet hauling box that may land on the planet. But a 5 or 6 also equates to 4, so that's good news. Set up here, put infantry here. Of course, they got to worry about supplying next time too. Actually, because of supply, they'll actually put him over here by the spaceport. They'll put him over here as well. So they'll kind of keep their main forces over here because they have more supply there. So the reinforcement, and then there's the human strategic transportation segment where you can move up to 4 units from Earth to the human fleet box. Move paratroop, transport, infantry, and heavy weapons. And then the Cetian strategic transportation segment may move any number of units from the system box to the fleet box within the limitations of fleet box. We'll do that first. So moved over the Guards Mobile Battalion, a couple of assault battalions, transport, and a base. And then I move 2 units from Tau Cetians to the system box. So I'll move 2 mobile battalions over. And that's the end of that turn. Then we'll start turn 2. Start turn 2 here. So first of all, the space superiority determination phase, and the first part of that is the deterioration. So if the original state is 5 or 6, the new is 3. So we'll move that down. And then the major effort planning segment. And major effort determination phase. So neither of them can do it until he's turned 3. And the result of a major effort is that the one that does it, or it increases it by 3. But since they can't do that, we'll not do that. Space superiority resolution segment. So that's referred to here. So roll dice. 5. Shift 1 to human. So they get back up to 4. Then the human player goes in the special forces segment. So they're going to try to disrupt this spaceport. They'll set a couple of special forces units right there. Then consulting the table. 2. Number of attacking special forces is 2. So that's a successful special forces action, so they disrupted the spaceport. And now the supply phase for the humans. So they got, so they're at space state of are allowed 50 supply factors. So they're in pretty good shape. That can come right down to the bases. Although the bases are already at their max of 8, so they can't get any more. But they can use those supplies to support basically all the units, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So within the 8 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So within the 8 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're all good. And they're close enough in their supply routes within their movement points. Then movement segment. So they're going to move their forces up here to engage with these. So you got this mobile battalion's got a factor of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Similarly, he'll move in. The infantry only has a movement factor of 1, so they'll just move up a little bit here. This infantry will go on the transport, which can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he'll unload him. He'll be there. He'll also move up. And then he'll also engage. So before we get in the battle, let's check out the storm. See if there's another one. There's not. And then let's see where storm number 1 moves, because it may affect the combat. So on 1 to 2 we'd go here, 5 to 6 here, but then we don't move. So looking at combat here, the attacker is the human here, and there's bases have air power basically, so you can get 4 attack factors from the aircraft wing of 3 here that goes out 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it encompasses this area. However, the Cetian has a air defense zone which goes out 6. So it also covers this area. And if his air defense zone is active by him not being suppressed, then you can't use the attack wing, so they basically cancel him out. But if there wasn't this base here, he would add 4 attack factors from this base. But as it is, we'll do the combat here. So you have the 2 different mobile battalions going at it here. And the attack factor is 2, and the defense factor is 2. Combat results table here. So it's 1 to 1. Roll dice. 4. No effect. And over here now we have 2 mobile battalions with an attack factor. The total attack factor of the 2 of them together is 4. Against going the defense factor here of 3. Roll dice. 2. In that case, the defender loses 1 unit. And that's all the combat this turn. And then you go into the space transport segment again for the humans, and you go to Cetians, then you progress from there. Hopefully that gives you enough of a sense of how it plays. Cerberus, the Proxima Centauri campaign from Task Force Games, their game number 3 from 1979. It's a unique game. It's got a lot of neat aspects to it. I like that it's, you're trying to conquer an entire world. You're facing aliens. You got tactical combat. You got strategies about how you move your different forces through the different systems. Supply you have to think about, weather patterns you can look at, a fair variety of forces. It's, it takes a little bit figuring out initially, but once you get into it, it flows pretty well. The only thing that holds it back a little bit is, it'd be nice if there was a fancier map. It's just kind of 3 colors. It'd be nice if it was a more elaborate map. I could see it being scaled to a bigger game, more forces, more counters. It's got a lot going for it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Thanks a lot.